We're the only faculty in Ontario that combines traditional liberal arts with professional studies. Here, you can combine any number of programs as double majors or majors and minors. Interested in philosophy and administrative studies? You can do that here.
Nowhere else in the GTA can you find a more diverse and inclusive faculty. LANPS's culture is varied and vibrant. Our students are engaged in important equity work and community engagement.
The opportunities for academic and personal growth are unmatched at LANPS. As an international student, I have found a home among my peers. I've taken part in clubs, research projects, and important outreach activities.
LANPS has many opportunities for internships and work placements to help enhance your in-class learning. I've been working as McLaughlin College's Peer Mentor Network Coordinator, and it's preparing me for what comes after graduation.
Our faculty is at the forefront of institutional change. This year, I was appointed as Special Advisor on LANPS's anti-Black racism strategy, so we can begin meaningful and hard conversations about equity and anti-Black racism in our communities.
As a proud York graduate, I credit my professors and peers for an excellent education. I gained a sense of self and a lifelong love of learning.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to our program chat for the School of Human Resource Management program. My name is Adam. I'm the Recruitment and Liaison Officer for the Faculty of Liberal Arts and Professional Studies, and I'm going to be hosting today. Before we get started, I would like to just take a moment to recognize the York University Land Acknowledgement. This meeting is virtual, and because of that, we are not all actually gathered on the same space. York's land acknowledgement might not represent the territory that you are currently on, and I would ask if that is the case, that you each take the responsibility to acknowledge the traditional territory that you are on and its current treaty holders. As a member of the York University community, I recognize that many Indigenous nations have long-standing relationships with the territories upon which York University campuses are located that precede the establishment of York University. York University acknowledges its presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Takaranto has been taken care of by the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It is now home to many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject to the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. Now I would like to take a moment to introduce you to two special guests we have today who are going to talk a little bit more about our program in human resource management. I'd like to invite both Professors Ducharme and Professor Budworth to turn on their cameras and microphones and join us. Good afternoon, professors.
Thank you, Adam. Good afternoon.
Hi, everybody.
All right. So it's great to be here. It's great to be speaking with all of you. Professor Ducharme and I have a short presentation for you, so we're just going to take a moment to get some slides up. All right, so before we get started, I'll take a moment to introduce myself and to let you know a little bit about what we're going to do today. So my name is Professor Mary-Ellen Budworth. I am the Director of the School of Human Resource Management, and I have with me my colleague, Dr. Mary Jo Ducharme, who's going to speak to you a little bit about the program itself. Mary Jo?
Hi, everybody. So I am formally known as the Undergraduate Program Director. So you will, if you come to study with us, you will get to know me. You will come to me for issues with courses and questions and planning and things like that, and I'll know who to direct you to. And I would just like to get started with talking a little bit about what is HR. We all know the term, we've heard it, everybody who has a job knows, what HR is responsible for. But what is the study of HR? So at our school, we study all of these different topics that relate to the study of work. And it can focus on many things. It can focus on well-being of the worker, but a lot of what we study in our program has to do with focusing on the performance of the people in the organization and trying to help organizations to find the best performance in their employees. Although there's also a lot of focus on well-being, and in a perfect world, a happy employee is a well-performing employee as well. So we talk about all these kinds of issues. So on the screen in front of you is just some examples of the kinds of things that we study. So we look at strategic HR planning, such as looking at the goals of an organization and trying to help through human resource practices to achieve those goals by planning who and what types of workers we're going to employ in the span of the strategic plan. I actually teach recruitment and selection. And so that's hiring. And it's a really exciting course. I absolutely love teaching it. And I'll tell you why I love teaching it. And maybe you'll find something else that's interesting about it. There's many things that's interesting about it. But one of the things that I love about teaching it is that I get to teach you how to develop a selection system, which is how to hire people for an organization. But I get to teach you that in a way that is free from bias and discrimination. And also, not only that, it's also the best way to do it to get the highest performing employees into the organization. And on top of that, it is the most legal way of doing it. So that's why I love teaching this course, is because there's all of these things that are layered for just the best way to do things. And we rely on scientific practices to do that. So what I really love about it is I feel like I can have an impact on things like improving the situation around systemic discrimination and things like that. So I think that's a really important course. But of course, all of the professors are going to think that their course is the most important course. But there's a lot of other courses too that are interesting. We cover things like training and development. There's a negotiation course. There are very interesting courses on labor law that are very popular with the students. And also, a lot of the courses, like, say, for example, compensation, this is how we pay people. You would think that this is just sort of a straightforward, like, these are the kinds of pay plans that exist. When actually there's a lot of psychology and sociology that goes into a lot of the concepts that we learn about in our program. So very interesting stuff. So who are the people that will be teaching these courses? We have faculty members from all different areas. So for example, I'm a psychologist. Some of our faculty have business degrees. Some of our faculty are lawyers. Some are from sociology. So it's a very interdisciplinary field, which lends to how exciting it is. Don't you think so, Marie?
Yeah, it's actually, the interdisciplinary nature of our study is one of the most exciting pieces for me. So I love that we can have a conversation even as colleagues, and we're talking about the very same problem, but we're talking about it from entirely different perspectives, right? We sit down and I'm concerned about the individual and their experience, whereas my colleague might be concerned about the law. So it's really fascinating to be able to think about all of these really important issues from a wide range of viewpoints.
I agree.
Wonderful. So how about I take it over, MJ, and talk a little bit about some of the careers and some of the long-term plans that people can make based on the BHRM degree.
Sounds great.
Okay. So I want to talk to you a little bit about what some of our students have gone on to do. Now, the study of HRM is it prepares you for a lot. It can prepare you for a lot of things, right? So I think when we think about HR, we might be stuck thinking about HR as a function within an organization, right? As something that fits into the this larger business structure, and certainly it is. There is that, but I think you can easily lose sight of these far broader options that are available to you based on the BHRM. One of them, and first thing that comes to mind for me, just because it mirrors my own trajectory, is looking at HR as an academic discipline. So thinking about becoming an academic, or at least pursuing graduate study beyond the BHRM. Our BHRM degree would prepare students to go on to complete our master's degree, which is an MHRM, a Master's of Human Resource Management. It would also prepare students to go into related masters at other universities. So you could do a Master's of Industrial Relations, a Master's of Science and Organizational Behavior, a Master's of Management, an MBA, of course, but all kinds of different graduate degrees would be available to you. And eventually, if this was your path, you might be interested in a doctoral degree in Human Resource Management. We have that degree within the School of HR. We are preparing future academics, folks who were in your place at one point in their life and decided that this was such a fascinating area of study that they wanted to be part of the academic growth of the area and are studying, completing a PhD in hopes that they will one day join a university as a professor. So there are, outside, beyond just working in a university, there are other options for academics. There's research institutes, there's the government, a lot of policy is written by folks in our area, as well as international organizations. So in informing structures, whether they're not-for-profit or profit, that span international barriers such as NGOs or government alliances, all kinds of places where people with HR degrees would be able to write all kinds of policy that would be relevant to work and labor. Now, beyond that, a lot of our students go on to professional degrees. And interestingly, MJ, I don't know if you've observed this recently, but I've seen a larger number of our students go into law school recently. I don't know if that's, yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
kind of a new trend that I've seen lately as well. So it's an interesting twist on taking HR.
Yeah, I think that maybe the all of the labor issues that are in the news have created, kind of underscored the importance of lawyers with this background, with a labor background or with a managerial background. But beyond the law, there's of course disciplines within HR that fit into the organization, such as I have here examples of chief talent officer that you would work into eventually. Like that's kind of that's the top of an area. But a recruiter, a staffing manager. So, and then the second category is working in compensation. You might be interested in working in unionized environments where you're looking at employee relations. And then there's all kinds of work around risk management, safety manager, occupational safety. And I imagine these folks would have been very useful in recent times with regards to COVID responses and moving people in and out of workplaces, right? So they would support and assist those types of functions. So it is a field that is vast in terms of the areas that you can go to within HR in support of organizations and all kinds of organizations. I think one thing that's important to note with regards to our degree, and the question we get a lot is, it is known that HR professionals are often aligned with professional associations. In Ontario, we have the Human Resource Professional Association. All of our courses prepare students for that designation. So if you've completed our degree, you've completed all of the educational requirements for the CHRP, which is the designation that is taken care of by the HRPA, the Human Resource Professional Association. Now, as a new HR professional, you would be at the entry level, but then there are levels that you can work up to through experience on the job. You have also completed all of the educational requirements for the Society of Human Resource Management, which is the American cousin of the HRPA. So you would be able you'd be eligible to acquire that designation as well if you were looking at working south of the border. All right. So those are our prepared comments for today. MJ, now, did you think of anything else that you wanted to share about? Did you have any success stories or any students that stand out for you as I was talking about the different designations or the different jobs that people have gone on to?
Well, there's many over the years, but one student in particular, and I guess I won't share names, but he was always very, very interested, always I had him as an undergrad for several different courses, and he was always very interested, always participated a lot in class, participated meaningfully in discussions, always went and bought the book that I referred to in class. And he went on to do his master's degree with us in the Masters of Human Resource Management program that we have. And that was, of course, after a few years of working. So he started out in HR in sort of an entry-level position and was impressive and moved up and then did his MHRM and is now in a senior executive role. So, I mean, I've been in the job long enough to see careers progress pretty far. So that's kind of exciting. And he's not the only example like that.
Yeah, I love those examples. It's wonderful when a student gets in touch with you at some point in the future, and they share with you all the success that they've achieved following our degree. So that's great. Thanks for sharing that. At this point, I'll invite Adam back.
Thanks so much, and thank you for the wonderful presentation. That was excellent. I do have a couple of questions, if you wouldn't mind. I know a lot of students are really interested in who we mentioned that there are a lot of faculty members from all sorts of different disciplines. And I was wondering if you could expand on that and talk about maybe some of the interesting research that is being done or some of the awards that might have been presented to the department recently.
Yeah, I can speak to that. We happen to be the recipient of a prestigious award called the Canadian HR Reports Reader's Choice Award for the last 3 or is it 4 years, Dr. Budrick?
I think it's 4. I think it's 4. Yeah.
So it's we're always happy to receive awards like that, and we've got a truckload of them apparently. No, but that's across all of our degrees, including our undergraduate and all of our graduate degrees. So we have a lot of also award-winning teachers in our school. I always call them rock star teachers. At every other university that I've taught at, I'm always the rock star teacher. And when I came to this school, I was just one of many. I don't know how it happened, but we have the best teachers. Another part of that is that although we have our full-time faculty tenured faculty members who do a lot of teaching and are great teachers, we also have people who are working in the field. Our school is large enough to support having consultants, people who are working, people who have actual field knowledge of what's going on in HR today, also teaching a percentage of our courses. So hopefully within your degree, try and get a mix of full-time faculty members and people who are out there working in the field as well. But among our among our tenured faculty members, we have very interesting research that will filter into the courses that you take. So examples of the research will be part of your coursework. And I think it brings to life the material that you'll be learning about. So some of the research, for example, like what is HR research? What kinds of topics do HR researchers look at? There's actually quite a bit of research going on in our school right now around COVID-19 and how it has affected the workplace, how it's affected working from home, how it's affected people who are in the workplace and workplace practices. Actually, another interest that seems to be popular in our school right now is looking at sort of the dark side of work and looking at bad things that happen in the workplace, like abusive supervision, and what kinds of things cause that to happen, and what kinds of practices managers can do to help alleviate those kinds of stresses that can happen in the organization. There's also research around neurodiversity in the workplace and selection practices around how we can build better selection practices to make sure that when it's job relevant, that we are bringing people with neurodiverse backgrounds into our workplaces. So all kinds of really interesting stuff. And of course, these are award-winning teachers, award-winning researchers, and really very exciting stuff happening at our school.
Well, that is really exciting. And, you know, that encourages, I hope, a lot of students who might have thought of human resource management as one thing to see the diversity of this field. And I was wondering if I could call on you, Professor Budworth, to talk about York's program in specific. When you compare it to other business or human resource programs at other universities or colleges, what helps set York apart in our program?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. And now one of the kind of foundational pieces is that York is the only place with a BHRM, a Bachelor of HRM. Most of the time you'll see either a BA in IR with HR, or you'll see a BCom with an HRM specialization. And I'll tell you why it's important, or why it's interesting and exciting that we have this focus and this specialization. It allows us to give you the opportunity to really concentrate your studies in ways that are really intriguing, right? So a lot of the time, if you're doing a BCom HRM, which is, you know, a wonderful degree, but it gives you something entirely different. you're doing a business degree with a few extra courses in HR, often the courses that are relevant to the designation. But what we offer is the courses that we think are pretty exciting because they stretch what HR is, right? So we offer the courses in things like employment law, cross-cultural management. We have international HRM. We have advanced strategic courses. So all of these courses, I think, really deepen your experience. And in my view, if you're thinking about becoming an HR practitioner, set you up to be a leader in the field as opposed to somebody who just kind of knows the fundamentals, right? Like you've got some really advanced knowledge about the span of individuals and work and management. I also think one of the really great things about our program is that there are opportunities within the program to really get hands-on experience and knowledge. Almost all of our classes have some sort of experiential component. Often, at the very base, it would be through case studies and guest speakers, but it spans all the way to working with organizations, alongside organizations, solving real-world problems. And we also have an internship option that students might be interested in exploring that's available to them in their third year, where you can take between 1 and 3 semesters working full-time within an organization for pay. So these are, there's a lot of flexibility within the program, a lot of opportunity, and I think a lot of depth. If you're really interested in understanding the human experience within the organization, this is where you should come.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. If you'll bear with me, I do have one slide that I'm going to bring up just before we close things out. I also want to thank you who've been watching this from home and your interest in our program here in Liberal Arts and Professional Studies and in Human Resource Management. If you have any questions, I'd like to encourage you to reach out and contact us at goyork@yorku.ca. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at YorkuLAPS. And don't forget that applications are now open and we would encourage you to apply today. I want to thank Professor Ducharme and Professor Budworth for all of the information that you provided us with today. And I want to give you a chance, Professor Budworth, if you have any final thoughts or some advice that students who are looking forward to their first year with the Human Resource Management program at York University.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd like to say is I'd like to acknowledge that I know this is a really, really tough moment for you and it's really difficult to make these decisions, that you have lots of options in front of you, and that many of them are great options. And I think the best thing you can do is to do as much research as you can. I hope that research leads you to us, and I hope that I get to see you in a classroom in the fall.
Excellent. Thank you again. So from us to you at home, stay safe and be well, and we'll see you soon.